Hey, and welcome to the Full Weight of Joy podcast, the podcast for women who are done stressing about the weight of the world, of expectations and settling for status quo, and ready to step into the full weight of joy. Joy in the journey, whether up or down, joy through the life's challenges, and joy in loving your life right where you are, even though sometimes we feel like chucking it all and moving to Bali. It's for women who are ready to step into who God called them to be. He chose you to be in this world. He created you for a specific purpose. God called us to be the light on a hill, and by embracing who you are and whose you are, you can stand on that hill and shine. The best part, when you're standing next to another woman who's also on the journey, the world gets brighter. My name is Tammy. I am your host and a master certified life coach and a trained therapist. For over a decade, I've been helping women do just that. Step into who they're called to be and shine. Are you ready, friend, to start your journey? Let's do this. Do you have a dream or a goal or a vision? Do you have something in your heart that you really want? I'm not talking about like, I want a burger. I'm talking about like, I want to go and spend a month traveling around Europe. I want to write a book. I want to start a business. I want to have a life of freedom. I'm talking about something that is bigger than just a one-time, like, go through a drive-through and get it. I'm talking about like a real dream or vision here. When's the last time you sat and you thought about something that you truly want? I see all the time these little, like most of the things that I want include travel of some sort. So I've been watching these like the national parks, like you see on Facebook, and then all of a sudden you see one and you linger on it for more than a millisecond. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you want to see more of these. So I've been seeing all of these, like how to travel around the United States and see the most national parks. And it just sounds so fun and relaxing to me. I want to continue to speak, because I got last year the privilege of speaking in Belgium, and I want to continue to speak all over the world. And one of the things I want you to do is I want you to think real quick, what is something that you truly want? Something that's outside of you, something that you may not even know how to get. And then I'm going to ask you a hard question. What are you willing to do to get it? What are you willing to do to make your dream happen? And I'm not talking about robbing a bank, but I am talking about how in order to get what you want, it takes effort, it takes time, it takes sacrifices, you have to be outside of your comfort zone for more than a half a second. You've got to learn to embrace being out of your comfort zone. Because if you want something different, you have to do something different. And majority of the time, you don't know what that something different is. And when you start to do it and you start to see the progress, you start making those small steps, you start taking, all of a sudden that vision, that goal that you have, it starts to come into reality. You start getting things similar. You start seeing your bank account increase. You start seeing how it's possible to do what you want to do. But we can't do what we've always done and expect something different. That's the definition of insanity, right? I think is doing the same thing and expecting something different is the exact definition of insanity. But I want you to because there's so many things that I want. There's so many things that I'm like, oh, that would be great to have or to do, to be, and to be honest with you, majority of those I have no desire to actually put in the effort to do. It's a fleeting thought. It would be great if it fell on my lap, but I'm not willing to put in the reps, put in the work, put in the effort in order to get those things. So that thing that you want, are you really willing to do what it takes? And the thing is there's two parts to this, because if you're not willing, if it's something that you long for and you're not willing or ready to do what it takes, give yourself some grace here and don't feel bad about it. Like, it's okay. There's some things that I wanted, and when I came downtown, I was like, Tammy, if you want this, do it. And it's like, oh, I didn't actually want it in the first place. I thought I was supposed to want it. And so then I like just put it out of your mind, put it out of your heart. But if there's something in your heart that you really want, what are you willing to do to get it? And how much more time are you going to wait? And so I want to just talk about like three things that you need to do, that you get to do in order to make that dream come true. And these three things will help make any dream come true. Because I think anything is possible, anything. And I think part of this is that we don't see what's possible. We don't see, and so we're so afraid of trying and not obtaining it or not making it, or we're so afraid that we will fall, or we're afraid that it's going to hurt, or it's going to take too much energy, or it's going to take too much time. Well, my friend, good things are worth working for. They're worth waiting for. They're worth working for. They're worth putting the effort into. These dreams you have in your heart, who knows what's possible if you go for it? And so these three things, these are three non-negotiables. If you want something that is deep in your heart and you don't know how to get it. And the first one is stepping outside of your comfort zone. Life does not happen in your comfort zone. I've been trying to explain to my 16-year-olds that the comfort zone is actually holding you back. It is stopping you from seeing what's possible. It's stopping him in particular from seeing what he's capable of. And I know it's true for you too. The comfort zone is not a place that we're supposed to get to and then camp. It's a place that we get to, like our comfort zone moves as we move. So as we grow, our comfort zone will shift and then we get to grow again. And then we're a little more comfortable in that area, in that arena. And then we grow again and we transform again and we try something else. The comfort zone is something that's constantly chasing us. When it catches up, that is a symbol, that is a sign to go forward. It's a sign to step out a little bit more and see what's possible. And so it requires us to step into this unknown. And this unknown is called the discomfort zone. It's called the what did I just do zone. And oh Lord, help me zone. It's the zone that we walk into and know that you're not alone in that zone. There's a lot of people, a lot of women who are actively searching and stepping into this, what did I do zone? This, I'm just going to give it a try zone. This, this may hurt a little and I'm going to do it anyway zone. So you're not doing it alone. In fact, please don't do it alone. Talk to a friend, talk to him and be like, okay, this is what I'm getting ready to do. I don't need advice. I just need some support. I just need some encouragement. I just need someone to say, Tammy, don't go backwards. The next thing is we have to make sacrifices. You sacrifice your comfort for the day, for the success of tomorrow, for the pleasure of tomorrow. You get to sacrifice that. There's going to be times that you have to sacrifice time. You have to put more effort into something that you may not have enough Netflix time, that you may need to spend more time reading. I know when I was putting myself through school, when I was working to become a therapist, I had 2 toddlers, I was a single mom, I had a mortgage, I was serving at church, I was doing an internship as well as going to classes and doing all these things. And I knew I sacrificed a lot knowing it was for the greater good. That my time in the evenings were spent writing papers and were, reading and studying, because during the day, my time was spent with my kids. My day was spent taking care of business and doing my internship and, working and doing what I needed to do so that way in the evening I could spend time working on papers, writing and writing and reading and writing. But it was worth it to me because I knew what I was working for. Now, did I see where I am now when I started that journey? No, I had no idea. I had this in the box idea of what a therapist did and what was possible. And God showed me another way. But if I didn't If I didn't take that step, if I didn't take that, like, okay, I know I need to go back to school. This is an obvious choice for me. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't be where I am today, because every decision we make out of our comfort zone pushes us a little further, directs us. It allows God to direct our path a little bit more. And so these sacrifices, time, money, I had to, I had school and I had childcare and I had, extra gas driving to and from, and it's okay because I knew it was worth it. I knew I was working towards something bigger than myself, even though I didn't know what it was going to be. So what sacrifices are you willing to make? And then I also want to ask you the question, because when you are going for something that you want, what are the sacrifices that you're not willing to make? I wasn't willing to sacrifice time with my kids. So I was willing to sacrifice my free time. I did take care of self-care. I did go and have, lunch with a friend. I did go out and, I did hang out with my friends during the day every once in a while. Like, I did take care of self-care because we don't want to sacrifice that. That's another thing. We don't want to sacrifice this. We don't want to steal so much from ourselves that we have nothing to offer, nothing to give, that we have nothing to just take care of business with. So that's another non-negotiable, and I'm not willing to sacrifice. I was not willing to sacrifice my values. Well, let's face it, I was going to a college in California. They are not known for values that align with the Christian values. But there's things that, you can do to ensure that your values are still intact. I doubled down on my quiet time because I knew in my heart of hearts that this is the direction God wanted me to go in. And I knew that some of the things that were being taught are definitely worldly things. And I didn't want that to creep into my heart. And so that's a sacrifice I was willing to make. And a non-negotiable that I had was I was willing to go to the secular school because it had the program that I wanted, I needed, and it worked with my schedule. And I was not willing to sacrifice my values. And so I doubled down on my quiet time. So when we start planning these out, when we start looking at what are we, we got to step out of our comfort zone. We got to make sacrifices. We got to know what we're not willing to sacrifice. And then the third one is you got to persist. You got to persist through failure. You have to ride those setbacks, and you have to just keep lean in and keep going, and don't look at everything as a all or nothing. Let me tell you, when it came to entrepreneurship, it took me a little while to embrace the fact that I'm an entrepreneur. I was like, well, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to be a coach, and I'm just going to coach. And I kind of ran it I did when I was doing therapy. And so I didn't embrace the entrepreneur, the business side of things. And so I had some setbacks, especially as, clients come in and go out. And when you're building something, it makes you nervous about that because it's all on you. With a, steady paycheck, you show up to work, they're going to pay you. When you are an entrepreneur, there is that element of you sit at your desk and you may not get paid that day. The key is don't let that happen for 2 days in a row. The key is to build a foundation and get some push through the setbacks. Find a path that works for you. And if you don't have one, let me tell you, one of the best things that I did was I got to know myself. I understood my purpose, my identity, who God created me to be. I went deeper into my purpose and my why. And then my business started flourishing because then I started making decisions based on who God created me to be and not what other people were doing. I was making business on my purpose and what God wanted for me and the direction He has. And instead of trying all of the different techniques and strategies and things that other people were doing. But when you want something, you've got to be willing to step out of your comfort zone. You've got to be willing to make sacrifices. You've got to be willing to know what you're not willing to sacrifice. And I'm telling you, write it out, because then if there's that question, We all want to believe that in the moment we would make the right choice, but sometimes it's really difficult because sometimes the easier choice is the one it's like, well, what does it matter? It's like, well, no, that was a non-negotiable. And then also we have to persist through failure, the ups and the downs. We have to keep going when we're successful as well. That doesn't mean we take our foot off the gas if we are starting to see some success. It doesn't mean that we shift. It doesn't mean that a lot of times we need to put blinders on and we just need to go for what God shows us. And so we need to build this resilience. We need to make a commitment to ourselves. We need to keep our word to ourselves. Right? If you want a goal, if there's a vision that God's put on your heart, if you have a dream, whether it's a dream of going somewhere or having something, what are you willing to do to get it? What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to push through? Are you willing to get some skin knees? Are you willing to look like you're falling? And I say look like you're falling because I truly don't believe that the only true failure is if you stop. I have learned the most when things don't go the right way. It hurts the most. It's definitely not the most fun. But what's possible if you say yes to yourself? And what are you willing to do? So I want you to take some time today and think of something you want and ask yourself one is, am I willing to do what it takes to get it? And if the answer is no, give yourself grace there and then don't feel guilty about the fact that you don't have it. Just embrace the fact that you're like, okay, I decided that this is not the choice for me right now. This is not the direction that I want to go. And that's okay. But if you tell yourself, yeah, I am willing to do it, then girl, get off your hiney and go and start making your list. Look at your comfort zone. What would it look like to be one step out of their comfort zone? One step. And yes, I did say hiney. That was not, I would typically just say get off your butt and go. But I said hiney. And I said it for the third time. But the sacrifices that you're willing to make, are you willing to put some short-term pleasures down to use your time, your resources, your energy, your money, your relationships? Are you willing to put some of those on autopilot so you can and say, okay, I'm willing, I'm ready to go full force? And are you willing to persist? Are you ready to persist through failing and setbacks? If you're not ready to step out of your comfort zone, if you're not ready to make sacrifices, and if you're not willing to persist through setbacks and failures, it's going to be a lot harder to get what you want. When you embrace the fact that this is the path, when you embrace the fact that this is where it's not going to be all sunshine and roses, even if you're starting something that you really love and it's something that you really love. It's in those moments that you make those sacrifices and you get out of your comfort zone that you discover who you truly are and what you really want and what you're willing to do to get it. And so what are you willing to do today? And again, please don't rob a bank. I'm not talking about doing something illegal, but I am talking about getting uncomfortable. I am talking about pushing through something that is not, that doesn't necessarily feel good in the moment. Knowing that it will, you sow now so you can harvest later. All right, that's what I have for you. I have a vision lab coming up. 4 weeks. We are talking about all things vision. We're talking about how to create a vision prime, which is similar to affirmations, only it works with your beliefs. We are going to talk about a vision board, how to create one that actually will inspire you to take action. We're going to talk about a vision identity. And we're also going to talk about your impact vision, because I know that the things that you want are not necessarily just for you, that there's an impact there waiting, that we want to impact our kids and our families. We want to leave a legacy. We want our lives to matter. So the first thing that we get to look at is a vision. So if you're interested in our vision lab, show notes will have the information. We'll have the link. So come and join us on the vision lab and just come and see what's possible. These are the steps that I took. When I started creating my business, when I started coaching, I started throwing spaghetti at the wall. I would look to see what other people are doing and try to do it. And I had some success. And then I also had some failures and some things that I was doing that burnt me out. When I got clear, when I sat with God and said, okay, how do you want me to build this thing? And I started doing it, then that's when the success started coming. That's when it feels good. And I have a life that I love, that I have a good balance in, that I work and I get to play and I get to homeschool and I get to save and I get to give and I get to do all the things that I want to do. But what made it different is how I built the business, how I built this purpose aligned. And when you are trying to build a business from the things you've been through or your expertise, don't do like most people and just start doing. Just start trying and like throwing things out there, watching what other people are doing. I want to encourage you to look within first. Get clear on who God created you to be, your core motivations, create a core foundation, a brand foundation, a personal brand foundation. And if you want to know how to do that, reach out to me, get on my calendar and let's do that, because you don't do it the same way as you would if you just are good at something and you're doing it. If it means something to you, if there's a piece of you that's in it, if it's helping people through something that you've been through or some expertise that you have learned through the jobs that you have been working and God showed you another way. There is a different way to build a business that aligns with who God created you to be. And I want to show you that way. I want to walk you through that framework to see, because success is faster. Success is faster. Freedom is faster when you work with who God created you to be instead of against it or avoiding it. All right, friend, with that, I hope that you are inspired to step out of your comfort zone today. I hope that you are inspired to ask yourself, what am I willing to do to get what I want? For me, I am willing to step out of my comfort zone, and I try every day to do it at least once. And what's crazy is as I step out of my comfort zone, those things that I do, I start to get comfortable with. And like I mentioned, then all of a sudden, that's just the key that I get to step out and I get to do something different. And so it's kind of like it turned into a game almost. It's kind of fun. And yes, there are setbacks. And yes, there are sacrifices. But they are so worth it. I would not trade anything that I have done or anything that I have today in order to get the comforts that I had yesterday. All right, friend, with that, choose joy until joy chooses you. If you have not left me a rate and review for this podcast yet, I would really appreciate if you did. This is it helps me personally. It helps me. I love reading them. I love seeing what resonates with you. I also know that this is what the algorithm uses to decide who else to share the podcast with. So if you wouldn't mind leaving me a rate and review, I would really appreciate it. All right, with that, I will talk to you soon. Bye.